PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And on this edition of Vegas Hockey Hub, where it's going to be a very good edition, as we're going to be breaking down and we're going to be recapping the most recent matchup of the Vegas Golden Knights. And this was a game that unfortunately did not go in the way that they were hoping for when it came to the Vegas Golden Knights, as they took a 4-1 loss in this game. But we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about all of it here on Vegas Hockey Hub. And there's going to be a lot of stuff that we can break down and talk about here on Vegas Hockey Hub. And there's going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to break down and talk about, so let's get into it. Now, the first thing we're going to mention is that this is the second time that they are taking on each other. In fact, this is the second time in ever so many games the Vegas Golden Knights are taking on Florida. And I will say, when it comes to this matchup, we saw what happened before the end of 2023. In their most recent matchup, Florida absolutely took care of business against Vegas in their most recent matchup. So it was going to be interesting to see what happens here, except this time they are in Vegas instead of being in Florida. So there was going to be a good back and forth there. Now, this matchup is going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to break down and really discuss here on this show. And speaking of the show itself, if you haven't gone to www.prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media, if you can check out all of the amazing content that we have on the network, that would be appreciated. You also want to go to the website, vegashockeyhub.com, or if you want to go to any of the Facebook pages that we have, PR Connections Radio and or Vegas Hockey Hub. So getting into the game itself, Logan Thompson would be in net for your Vegas Golden Knights. There's been a couple of games in a row that Logan Thompson has been your starting goaltender for your Vegas Golden Knights. And you have a Florida Panthers team that right now is building up momentum, 24 wins, 12 losses, and 2 overtime losses on the season. Of course, we'll break down what happened with the Vegas Golden Knights later on. But I will say, when it comes to Florida, they have Sergei Bobrovsky in net. Of course, everyone's going to not forget that this is the last time Florida was in Vegas, and the last time that Florida stepped foot at T-Mobile Arena was Game 5 of the 2023 Stanley Cup Finals, and Vegas Golden Knights fans know how that game went. Some minor changes that would happen in the lineup for this game. Now, obviously, Gregory Diansenko, the former Florida Panther, he would be in the fourth line for today's game. So, of course, you see, King Kolazar not in the lineup. So you have Diansenko, you have Carrier, you have Waugh, you have those guys out there on the fourth line. And, of course, you also have the first line, Barbashev, Eichel, Marchessault. And then on the second line, you have a good combination there. You have Paul Cotter. You have Paul Cotter. You have all of these guys in and out of the lineup. Of course, we know about the whole William Karlsson situation. He is not going to be in the game. So Cotter, Dorofeev, Diansenko, 3 guys that are in the lineup that are not normally in the positions that they are in the lineup, but changes had to be made with Kolazar being out and with Karlsson being out in this game. So breaking down the game itself, let's get this started. As this game would pick up and actually go good for the Vegas Golden Knights, as 4 minutes into the first period, Pavel Dorofeev with his 4th goal of the season for your Vegas Golden Knights. The captain, Mark Stone, would actually be the assist on this, so it'd be a 1-0 game for the Vegas Golden Knights. And to start this out, 4 minutes in, Vegas up by 1. And it just really showed that the Vegas Golden Knights organization, if they pick up steam and they pick up momentum, they can do good in the first period. I know we've talked about them struggling and them having a bit of a decline in the first period in some games. But to start out on the right foot and score the first goal of the game, especially by a young guy, a person who's been a prospect for Vegas in the past, in Pavel Dorofeev, 4th goal of the season for him. And a couple of minutes later, there was a delay of game penalty on Florida's Sam Reinhart. So the Vegas Golden Knights would be on the power play for the first time in the game, and Vegas unfortunately would not capitalize on the power play opportunity. But this actually would open up an opportunity for Florida, as a couple of minutes later, William Carrier would have a tripping penalty. He would go to the box, and Florida would be on the power play. So Vegas's first penalty kill of the game. They would have to get their practice in early. And unfortunately for Vegas and fortunately for Florida, Sam Bennett with his 7th goal of the season on the power play, assisted by Aaron Ekblad and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. So the Florida Panthers get on the board. They tie it up at 1. And it was just really seeing that, on the power play, Florida does relatively well. And the penalty kill has been weak at times for your Vegas Golden Knights. So I will say when it comes to Vegas and it comes to Florida, it has been an unfortunate situation, but we have seen that when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights, they struggle at times on the penalty kill, and this is one of the games there. Now, to get in the end of the first period, Gregory Diansenko, the guy who came from Florida on waiver claims, he would get an interference penalty on the goaltender. So Sergei Bobrovsky, he'd be called for interference. Funny enough, there was a bit of chirping from the Florida players to Gregory Diansenko, and considering that he was their teammate a couple of months ago, a lot of me wonders if that chirping is because they were former teammates. So at the end of the first period, it would be tied at 1 apiece for Vegas and Florida. So the first period overall, not that bad. I mean, I'll say the first period, there was a lot of good, some positives on each side, some negatives on each side. But after the first period, it was a 1-1 affair for Vegas and Florida. Second period, to start this out, not even a minute in, there would be a high sticky penalty on Florida against William Carrier. So Vegas would get on the power play. And then exactly 1 minute later, there would be a tripping penalty against your captain. So in the span of 2 minutes into the game, Florida would have back-to-back penalties. And then 1 minute later, Aaron Ekblad from the Florida Panthers would have a hooking penalty against Chandler Stevenson. So what a great way to start out the second period, as Vegas would have back-to-back penalties given to Florida, and that would open an opportunity for Vegas to get some goals and get some opportunities. Now, the negative is that when it came to the Vegas Golden Knights, they did not capitalize at all on these power play opportunities, as the Vegas Golden Knights would not put the puck in the back of the net for either the Carrier opportunity, the captain opportunity, or Stevenson on the opportunity. It's very unfortunate to say, but the Vegas Golden Knights squandered not 1, not 2, but 3 different opportunities to score on the power play, which really just goes to show you that the Golden Knights struggle on the power play. In fact, it's been a while since we've seen a power play goal by your Vegas Golden Knights. So after not capitalizing on that, you had a good, interesting moment about 5 minutes into the second period, as Zach Whitecloud would be caught with a roughing penalty against Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett and Zach Whitecloud have a good exchange back and forth between the two. Zach Whitecloud would go to the box. Sam Bennett would go to the box. But then the referees would actually say that Zach Whitecloud had an elbow against Sam Bennett. So Paul Cotter would go to the box as well. So that would create an opportunity for Florida to be on the power play. And unlike Vegas in this game, Matthew Tkachuk would score on the power play, assisted by Brandon Montour and Sam Reinhart. It would be a 2-1 game. And, Matthew Tkachuk, really solid player, one of the best players in the NHL when it comes to consistency, when it comes to delivering. And this game just really showed that Vegas just did not capitalize when they needed to. I mean, you saw those power play opportunities to begin the second period, but Zach Whitecloud with an elbow penalty created that power play opportunity for Matthew Tkachuk to score that goal. And then a few minutes later, about halfway into the second period, Anton Lundell would have a cross-checking penalty against William Carrier. So for the 5th time in this game, the Florida Panthers would get an opportunity as Vegas would go to the box. And this just really shows the sloppy play that Vegas had in this game. There's no nice way to put it. Carrier's second penalty of the game, and it was against Lundell. So I will say William Carrier, 2 penalties in one game. Zach Whitecloud had 2 penalties in this game. Dean Senko on the fourth line, he had a penalty. It just seemed like the discipline was not there. The sloppiness just did not capitalize for Vegas. And the momentum was totally shifted over to Florida's side. As with about 2 minutes left in the second period, Carter Varkey would have his 20th goal of the season, assisted by Gustav Forsling and Matthew Tkachuk. So it would be the 20th goal of the season for Varkey, and it would make a 3-1 game for Florida. So just really unfortunate timing for the Vegas Golden Knights as they would go into the intermission, past the second period, down by 2. And again, And unfortunately, technical difficulties, folks. It does happen when it comes to the recording side of it. Now, getting back into this. So, we had the back-to-back penalties on the Vegas Golden Knights, White Cloud, and then the high stick on Lundberg. And then you eventually had the power play goal from Florida to make it a 4-1 game. And it was just, like I said, really unfortunate for Vegas that you had not 1, not 2, but 3 power play goals given up by Vegas. And then you had the back-to-back penalties a few minutes later on Florida's behalf, as Sam Reinhart would, for the second time in the game, would have a delay of game penalty. And then you would have the Aaron Ekblad slashing penalty against Ivan Barbashev. So, yeah, for the 6th time in the game, Vegas would be on the power play. And for the 6th time in this game, the Vegas Golden Knights would not be able to capitalize. So going 0 for 6 on the power play, that is just not a good sign for your Vegas Golden Knights. And then with a minute left in the game, you had some good back and forth. In fact, you had a little bit of pushing and shoving and a little bit of a scrum between Florida and Vegas, as Ryan Lundberg and Nick Hague would actually have both roughing penalties about a minute left in the game. So this would just be an unfortunate situation for your Vegas Golden Knights, as they would suffer a 4-1 loss at T-Mobile Arena. And, Vegas right now, there's been a bit of a slump. I mean, I can't sit here and act like it's not happening. It is. So for Vegas, let's really break it down from a team stats perspective, because there's a lot that we can go over. So the Vegas Golden Knights were outshot in this game, as Florida had 36 shots. Vegas only had 27. You had 20 hits for Florida, 13 for Vegas. So you get outshot, you get out-hit. You had the same amount of penalty minutes, but the fact that you both had 16 penalty minutes in this game for both sides just shows the physicality that this game had. Face-offs was a 1 by Florida, as Florida had a 54% face-off winning percentage. So it definitely worked out for Florida in this game. Now, I mentioned to you that Vegas went 0 for 6 on the power play, which means that Florida went 6 for 6 on the penalty kill. So that really shows you that either A, Vegas's power play is so weak that they couldn't get any power play goals on 6 tries, or it means that Florida has such a great power play and such a great penalty kill that Florida was able to capitalize on it. Now, when it came to the block shots, Vegas actually had more than Florida did, as Vegas had 15 block shots, Florida only had 12. Florida had 4 takeaways, Vegas had 7. So, unfortunately, when it came to the Vegas Golden Knights, this was just a situation that in this game, there was a lot of sloppy play, and there just wasn't a lot of positives you could go over when it came to this matchup. Now, what we are going to see from the Vegas Golden Knights moving forward after this matchup, you have some good games that are about to kick off between the Vegas Golden Knights and the upcoming games. So, looking at the upcoming schedule for your Vegas Golden Knights, you have the matchup against New York Islanders. So New York Islanders, they're going to be coming to T-Mobile Arena. Then you're going to be heading to the Pepsi Center, going to Colorado. That's going to be a good matchup to watch. And then you have the Boston Bruins, one of the best teams in hockey. They will be coming to Vegas. So you're going to be seeing a 5-game homestand. And in fact, you're actually going to be seeing 7 home games over the next 8. So outside the matchup in Colorado, the next 8 matchups, 7 of them will be at T-Mobile Arena. So that should be a good experience for Vegas. So if you're a Vegas Golden Knights fan, if you want to experience the Golden Knights, you want to go down to a game, you want to check out the Fortress, I would say over the next 2 weeks, you're going to have 7 chances to see the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, really examining the rest of this schedule, really for the rest of the month, really seeing what we have for the rest of the time here. You have Calgary, you have Nashville. You have the New York Rangers back-to-back. You're going to have, New Jersey and Pittsburgh. So you're really going to see a good amount of East Coast teams towards the next couple of games here. We saw Florida, obviously how that turned out in this game. But to have the New York Islanders 2 times, to have the New York Rangers 2 times, to have Detroit, New Jersey, and Pittsburgh, you're really going to be experiencing a good amount of East Coast teams on the rest of the schedule here. And it's going to be fascinating to see how Vegas does, because if they can turn this around, if they can win 5 I really want to see how they do long term. And more importantly, I want to see how they're going to finish the rest of the schedule here. because there's going to be a lot of stuff we could talk about and a lot of stuff that we're going to break down here on Vegas Hockey Hub. And once again, this is Vegas Hockey Hub Recap. We're going to recap every single game on the Vegas Golden Knights calendar. And there's going to be a lot of fun we're going to talk about, a lot of stuff we're going to break down here on Vegas Hockey Hub. And me being your host, Ian Rachiele, there's going to be plenty of fantastic content that we are going to talk about on this show as we do amazing content on a bunch of platforms. We are everywhere on Vegas Hockey Hub. So the next matchup against the New York Islanders, we will do a recap on that one as well. And more importantly, we're going to have our upcoming show, and that will be breaking down Alec Martinez, because Alec Martinez is interesting to talk about. There's some things that we do want to mention about him as we're getting towards this time of the year. So I will say here on Vegas Hockey Hub Recap, I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And until next time, continue watching hockey, go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go.